Now, on our second lead story today, Algeria is facing several years of suppressed growth and rising macroeconomic challenges, in part as the government now turns to austerity measures in response to its major exchange earner, that's oil revenues. Now, the measures has resulted to strikes by several public sector trade unions, as economic indices have shown the continuing slump in global energy prices will massively affect the country's growth and GDP in the coming months. At the same time, the African Development Bank and its directors approved a €900 million loan for the country on Wednesday, aimed at supporting reforms at its ailing oil industry.
The Union Confederation, made up of several independent unions, rejected a bill amending the labor code, particularly denouncing the removal of early retirement. From January, Algerian workers who will have accumulated 32 years of service will no longer go for retirement if they have reached the legal age fixed at 60 years for men and 55 for women, according to the text voted by the Council of Ministers. However, the discontent on the streets has not stopped at the level of this law. Social problems related to the socio-economic crisis are also at stake. We talk about them with Tawfiq Abdelbari, a journalist specialized in Algeria's economic affairs. Hello, Mr. Tawfiq. It's been several weeks now since the Union Confederation called for protests. Several strikes have been held, but what exactly are the claims of these unions?
Alors, c'est vrai qu'il y a plusieurs mouvements de protestation ces derniers temps, une recrudescence, si vous voulez.
It is true that there are several protest movements of late. There is a certain restlessness socially. So it is actually linked on one part to the revision of the law on retirement. So the independent unions actually claim the cancellation of the new law on the age of retirement, because this law removes, if you want, the option of early retirement, and it requires a minimum of 15 years of contributions to qualify for retirement at the age of 60. We said it earlier on that it's not only the issue of retirement that's causing a problem. For example, there was a protest against the rising electricity prices in the south of the country. Can we say this is a widespread social discomfort?
C'est vrai, en fait, c'est lié effectivement à la baisse du pouvoir d'achat, parce qu'il y a une inflation.
It's true. It's actually linked to the declining purchasing power, because there is a fairly strong inflation in Algeria, which is related to the depreciation of the dinar. Then there are various movements. For example, the recent one in the south in Biskra, and more generally in all the wilayas in the south. Residents are protesting against the rising electricity prices. With the decline of the state's subsidy, prices are more expensive in the south, and the consumption continues to rise, especially in the summer with power cuts.
Plus récemment, à Alger même, il y a eu
And suddenly there is a sharp rise in electricity bills, which have been protested quite violently. More recently, in Algiers, the Algiers tramway workers held an unauthorized strike, according to the public authorities. There are internal causes, but also a demand to increase their salaries. There are other elements, such as the decline in the purchasing power, and people continue to ask if the prices will stop rising.
Et des gens, c'est vrai, demandent de plus en plus, demandent à ce que les prix arrêtent d'augmenter. Bon, c'est facile à dire, mais c'est effectivement lié à la baisse du pouvoir d'achat.
A last question. The government has repeatedly called for calm in the past few weeks. What is it planning to do concerning the protests? And in your opinion, will the protests continue?
Pour l'instant, à vrai dire, c'est assez, disons, c'est sporadique, et puis ce n'est pas un mouvement qui est organisé.
At the moment, to say the truth, it's quite sporadic, and then it's not an organized movement, because each person has kept to himself with different demands, but which are in the front line. At the moment, the authorities are trying to engage in dialogue. For example, concerning the electricity prices in the south, they have promised quick solutions with a commission that had been put in place by the Interior Ministry. So there's a reaction. Similarly, there are workers of the SNVI, which is a public company of industrial vehicles. They have triggered strikes and asked their pay, which was done fairly quickly. So we are trying to find solutions as the authorities. We have managed to calm, for now, the claims that appear a bit over the country.
Well, thank you very much, Tawfik, for joining us on the morning call. That was Tawfik Abdelbari talking to us he's a journalist and talking to us about what's happening in the country, Algeria.